All right, hey guys, hope you guys are doing well. I'm just going to walk you through the basics of what our first main unit is going to be, and it's called the Five Themes of Geography. So this is a way that we can organize information about any location on our planet. So it could be for a city, it could be for a state, a country, a continent, whatever. And it helps us categorize information into these five different categories. So if you think about what makes Minnesota unique, it's a lot of things we could talk about. All the lakes, the 14,000 some lakes we have. We have the starting point of the Mississippi River. We have hot dish, one of my favorite foods. We have a real diverse culture with a lot of Scandinavians, Somalis, Hmongs, Germans, pretty diverse. We have hockey, we have the Vikings, we have a lot going on for us here. So to organize all that stuff, the five themes of geography can be pretty helpful for Minnesota and any other location. Kind of what I just said there. All right, so hopping into the five themes, I'm just going to give you a real brief overview of what each one is, and then we're going to take a deeper dive into each. So the first theme is location, and that just simply tells us where something can be found. So there's two different types of location. The first one is absolute location, and then the other one is relative location. The difference between them is pretty easy. And again, you'll be practicing with this later this week. So with absolute location, we're using coordinates to give us exact spot on the Earth where something is. So Paris, France is at 48 degrees north latitude, 2 degrees east longitude. So that's using coordinates. Or we can use a street address. I hope you all know the address of wherever you live. So for example, the White House is located at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. That tells us pretty much exactly where the White House is. Relative location is where we use landmarks to explain where something is. So like Canada is north of Minnesota. Wisconsin is next to Minnesota. California is on the Pacific Ocean. So we're using one location to explain where something else is. It's not as accurate, but it can be really helpful and easy to use. So that's location. Place is what a place is like when you're actually there. So we break it into two components. We got human characteristics and physical characteristics. So human characteristics is anything about the people there and their culture. So it could be what foods they eat, what language do they speak, what religion do most people there follow, how do they dress, what music do they listen to, what do they do for hobbies, for sports, for games, for free time. We could have a list of thousands of things that are human characteristics. Physical characteristics, on the other hand, is kind of like anything that doesn't have to do with the people. So it could be, what's the landscape there? Is it rolling hills? Is it flat? Is it pancake? Are there mountains, deserts, whatever? We can look at the climate. So is it hot? Is it cold, long winters? Is it real temperate temperatures? Anything that is a physical characteristic. Moving on. Next one is human-environment interaction. So this is how humans and the environment affect one another. And this has three subcategories: depend, modify, and adapt. So the first one is depend. That is, how do we humans in that area, how do we depend on the environment around us? So for example, here we depend on the Mississippi River or groundwater or lakes for our drinking water. We depend on the farm fields to provide food for us, things like that. Next ones, remember, are modify. So that is, how do we change the environment to fit our needs? So if you think of Westwood, when right before the school was built, this was probably a forest of some sort, a woods. So we had to modify the land to fit our needs to the school. So we had to chop down all the trees. We probably had to dig a pit for the foundation of the building, things like that. If any of you live near the Coon Rapids Dam, that's us modifying the river to produce energy for us, things like that. Third subcategory for this is adapt. So that is, how do we change ourselves to fit into the environment around us? So in the middle of winter, when I leave for work, I put on a nice thick warm jacket and hat and gloves. I change the way I dress to fit the environment that I live in, the winter cold. In the summer, I'm gonna wear shorts and a t-shirt because that's how I can be comfortable in our environment. Things like that. Next one is movement. This is a really easy one to understand, but it's just how do things move around? So we look at the movement of people. So how do people get from place to place? We look at the movement of goods. Goods are all the things, oops, my light just shut off. Goods are all the things that we buy and use. So if you go to like Target, for example, how did all that stuff actually get there? And then the last way is ideas. How do our ideas and knowledge move around? So this could be through talking, like what I'm doing with you right now. I'm giving ideas. It could be through magazines, newspaper, our phones, email, Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok. All of those things spread ideas. Regions are this is the final of the 5 themes of geography. And this is areas that have common characteristics. I'm not going to go too much into this one until later, but real quick, there is formal regions. These are places that have actual borders, like the state of Minnesota, or the United States, or Cuba, or Canada. And then the other form is vernacular regions, and these are areas where we don't necessarily have hard borders. So like the Midwest. It's kind of fuzzy where the Midwest ends and a new region begins. So don't worry too much about that one. We'll get into that later. So this is just kind of a real brief overview of what the 5 themes of geography are. If you don't fully understand them, it's totally fine. We're going to be doing activities where we do a closer look for each one. Thanks.